Welcome, dear viewer, to the cozy realm of movie summary. Introducing Avatar 2, The Way of Water, a thrilling cinematic marvel from 2022, blending technology, romance, and gripping clashes. Get ready for an unforgettable adventure of action, fantasy, and science fiction in this extraordinary tale. Caution, spoilers ahead. More than a decade after the initial human incursion on Pandora, Jake, the chief of the Omaticaya clan, resides contentedly in harmony with his spouse Neytiri and their offspring. Netium, Loak, and Tuk are their biological progeny, but they have also adopted two additional members. There's Kiri, who originated from Grace's unconscious embodiment, and Spyder, a human boy. Spyder was born on the human military facility during the invasion, and due to the unavailability of cryostasis for infants, he couldn't be transported back to Earth with the others. Raised by Jake and his family, Spyder perceives himself as more Na'vi than human, although Neytiri remains cautious of him since he is the offspring of the adversary. One evening, as the family gazes skyward, their hearts sink upon realizing that humans are returning to their planet, wreaking havoc in their wake as if they failed to grasp the lesson. 1 year later, within one of the numerous human spacecraft orbiting the planet, the army is transferring their soldiers' consciousness into recently born avatar bodies. One of them, Colonel Quaritch, finds the awakening process distressing until it is explained to him what is transpiring. New Quaritch views a recording left by his past self, clarifying that his memories were copied into the system to facilitate posthumous cloning. Now, his mission is to exact revenge on Jake for his defeat in their previous encounter. Meanwhile, Jake and his fellow clan warriors have orchestrated a guerrilla campaign to impede the humans' progress, predominantly by targeting their supply routes. While most of them rely on conventional weaponry and ride mountain banshees, Jake, as a former human, still favors firearms for personal use and has modified human communication devices for his family's utilization. During another highly successful raid against the humans, Loak's arrogance gets the better of him as he disobeys Netiam, joining the battle to assist his father and prove himself. Netiam pursues him, and this reckless act places both siblings in the line of fire when a human vessel retaliates. Loak manages to evade harm just in time, but Netiam sustains injuries, compelling Jake to rescue him from a heap of debris. Upon their return home, Jake reproaches his sons for their actions and imposes restrictions on them. Neytiri attempts to remind her husband to show leniency since they are merely children, but Jake, fearing the prospect of losing them, deems strictness necessary for their safety. Subsequently, the siblings pay a visit to Max, one of the few human scientists who betrayed the military to join the Pandora defense team. Max and his comrades operate a small laboratory where they maintain Grace's comatose body, and Kiri enjoys these visits while indulging in video logs of Grace's previous human existence. Kiri's siblings tease her for being unaware of her paternal origin, but Spyder believes that ignorance might be preferable, given his disdain for being the offspring of the enemy. Meanwhile, Quaritch and his squad of avatars arrive at the new human base on Pandora, where they discover that thanks to advancements in technology, humans are settling in at a rate 3 times faster than a decade ago. After arming themselves adequately, the team embarks on an exploration of the forest, stumbling upon remnants of machinery from the prior invasion. Quaritch is taken aback by the remnants of his former body. Simultaneously, all of Jake's children, except for Netiam, are enjoying themselves in the vicinity, swiftly concealing themselves among the foliage upon the enemy's arrival. Loak informs his father discreetly through the communicator and receives orders to retreat silently. However, as the siblings attempt to move, they are ambushed by Quaritch and his team. Quaritch immediately perceives that these are the offspring of Jake because their digits identify them as mixed blood. But the most surprising revelation is to witness Spyder, who turns out to be Quaritch's offspring. As Quaritch and his squad now must wait to be collected, this provides Jake and Neytiri with the opportunity to approach them under cover of darkness, after instructing Netiam not to intervene. Neytiri emits an animalistic noise to notify the children of her presence before she and Jake's commence eliminating soldiers from the obscurity, and the children promptly recognize to bite their captors and flee. Quaritch identifies Neytiri's projectiles and mocks her to discern her whereabouts, yet Netiam chooses to join the altercation just in time to safeguard his mother. In that instance, a human vessel arrives to retrieve Quaritch's squad, allowing Neytiri to focus on reuniting with her offspring, without even contemplating the search for Spyder as well. This permits Quaritch to seize the boy as he makes his escape. At the human base, Spyder is subjected to an interrogation apparatus, yet he endures the agony and remains silent. Quaritch then opts for a more genial approach, informing the child that he might possess Quaritch's memories, but he is an individual distinct from his father who genuinely desires to establish a connection with his son, effectively persuading Spyder that he may not be entirely malevolent. Upon returning home, Jake suggests to Neytiri that they should depart. Neytiri refuses to abandon her people, but Jake explains that Quaritch explicitly wants them, hence it would be safer for the clan if they were absent. After Jake designates a successor, the clan proceeds with the customary ritual to pass on the mantle of leadership, and the family is permitted to depart for the Metcaina coast. Here, the indigenous clans have adjusted to the marine environment and can endure extended periods submerged without requiring oxygen. Upon their arrival, Chief Tonowari and his spouse Ronal harbor reservations due to their human lineage and the potential threat of war trailing them, but Jake vows that they were not pursued, and as tradition demands shelter to be offered to those in need, the family is allowed to stay. Tonowari enlists his children as guides, and while his son Aonung vehemently rejects any involvement, his daughter Rhea enthusiastically acquaints them with their surroundings. Henceforth, Jake's family diligently endeavors to adapt to reef life, acquiring skills such as riding aquatic creatures known as ILU and employing techniques to prolong their underwater endurance. It requires several attempts to master these techniques, but to everyone's astonishment, Kiri exhibits an innate ability to remain submerged at will and promptly establishes a bond with all the marine creatures. Meanwhile, Quaritch's squad commences taking Spyder on their exploration missions, designating him as their official interpreter. Spyder also leads them to a roost of ikrans, perilous flying creatures that cannot be tamed by just anyone. Nonetheless, Quaritch attempts to subdue one, engaging in combat and inadvertently plummeting off the precipice together. The squad assumes Quaritch to be deceased and prepares to return to the base, yet in a triumphant turn of events, Quaritch reappears by riding the tamed ikran. Back at the reef, Kiri continues to foster a connection with the ocean, provoking Aonung and his companions to mock her for being peculiar. Loak comes to her defense, and Neytiri promptly follows suit in an attempt to maintain diplomacy. But Loak's impetuous nature ignites a brawl, leaving Neytiri with no choice but to intervene. When the adults finally manage to separate them, Jake reprimands his sons for their actions. He shares their frustration with the incessant teasing, but they must endure it as guests and cannot risk being expelled. Neytiri endeavors to console Kiri, who is distraught over her inherent dissimilarity, as evidenced by a concealed section of her countenance concealed beneath her tresses. Afterward, Loak obeys his father's commands and expresses regret to Aonung and his companions for the altercation. Aonung accepts the remorse and leads Loak to an exclusive, secluded location to instruct him on underwater angling. However, as Loak concentrates on his prey, Aonung and his comrades depart, since it was all an elaborate prank. Now Loak finds himself marooned and must devise a plan to return. Suddenly his thoughts are disrupted when a colossal marine predator strikes him. Swiftly, Loak submerges to evade and conceals himself beneath the coral. However, he soon depletes his oxygen and must resurface. The predator pursues him upon sighting him, but unexpectedly, a larger cetacean-like creature referred to as a tulkun materializes to vanquish the predator precisely as Loak loses consciousness. Moments later, Loak awakens atop the tulkun, which has rescued him from drowning. Loak forms a bond with the tulkun, and as a token of gratitude he removes a harpoon lodged in its fin, remnants of human whalers. Subsequently, the tulkun escorts Loak back to the village, though it departs before being noticed. Loak reunites with his family, and Tonowari attempts to apologize for his son, but Loak fabricates a story claiming responsibility. This prompts another scolding from Jake, who condemns him as a disgrace to the family. Afterward, Aonung ponders why Loak lied on his behalf, and Loak elucidates his understanding of the pain caused by disappointing one's father. The following day, Loak shares his adventure with everyone. and the locals realize that Loak encountered Payakan, a rogue tulkun. Everyone perceives it as a malevolent creature and dismisses Loak's claims of its benevolence. Several hours later, Loak embarks on a quest to locate Payakan and inquire why it was ostracized by its own kin, but Payakan refuses to divulge the reason. While swimming together as companions, Rhea accompanies Kiri to their clan's sacred tree in order to establish a mental connection and commune with Grace's spirit. Following an affectionate embrace, Kiri queries why she is different and about her paternity, yet before Grace can respond, the connection is severed as Kiri experiences a seizure. Her siblings escort her back to the village, and Jake contacts Max, urging his team to examine her condition. Remarkably, it is Ronal who manages to revive her consciousness using a traditional medicinal ritual. Max and his physician associate explain to Jake that Kiri suffered an epileptic episode and must never again connect to the tree. As Max utilized his own vessel to reach Jake, the human base detected the signal, which was lost when the ship ventured farther into the ocean. To relocate it, they require assistance from someone acquainted with the area and capable of guiding them through numerous islands. Quaritch leads his team to negotiate with a vessel engaged in whaling activities, and when the whalers refuse to cooperate, Quaritch compels them to comply under the threat of death. Meanwhile, as a group of tulkuns makes their customary visit to Tonowari's village, Quaritch and his subordinates arrive at the initial island and apprehend the locals to extract information regarding Jake. Spyder finally witnesses Quaritch's merciless nature as the interrogation escalates into violence, and the boy intervenes to prevent his father from annihilating everyone, simply due to their lack of knowledge. Unfortunately, Quaritch proceeds to order the incineration of all the houses. News of Quaritch's arrival soon reaches Tonowari, who warns Jake that he is being pursued. Neytiri yearns to confront Quaritch once and for all, yet Jake beseeches her to exercise patience and formulate a proper strategy. Meanwhile, Loak pays a visit to Payakan while his companions observe surreptitiously to ascertain the truthfulness of his claims. Loak seeks to uncover the reasons behind Payakan's exile, prompting the creature to open its mouth, allowing Loak to swim inside and establish a mental connection with Payakan. This grants him the complete narrative. It transpires that Payakan's mother was assaulted by harpooners, and Payakan retaliated to protect her. But its group still expelled Payakan because they're meant to be a pacifist species, and violence contradicted their beliefs. When the children return to the village, Tonowari and Ronal angrily reprimand them for disrespecting Tulkun's culture. Ultimately, only Rhea stands by Loak and conveys her immense pride in him. After some time, Quaritch comprehends that aggression won't elicit cooperation from the villagers, so he consents to aid the harpooners in hunting the Tulkuns, understanding that killing these creatures regarded as kin by the locals will lure Jake out of hiding. Now Spyder has to witness with revulsion as the harpooners dispatch vessels to exterminate the Tulkuns with specialized weaponry, capable of tracking the creatures' vocalizations. To exacerbate matters, the sole purpose of hunting Tulkuns is to extract their brain enzymes for use in anti-aging remedies, wasting the rest of the creature. The harpooners discard the bodies into the ocean, and when the villagers discover them, they promptly blame Jake and his family. They wish to retaliate, but Jake presents them with the tracker he discovered on a tulkun's fin and explains it's a trap. So for now, they must remain in place and instruct the tulkun to swim away for safety. Loak realizes that no one will notify Payakan since it is an outcast, so he takes it upon himself to do so, disregarding his brother's warnings. Netiam takes his sisters Aonung and Rhea along to trail Loak, and they locate him attempting to remove a tracker from Payakan's fin. The group dives in to provide assistance, but it's too late. The tracker has already transmitted their location to the whaling ship, which is now heading towards them. The siblings utilize their communicators to inform Jake of the imminent danger, prompting Jake to alert the entire village. The villagers swiftly equip themselves and mount their ilus to join the battle. The children successfully detach the tracker and swim away with it to divert attention from Payakan. But this is precisely what Quaritch desired, and he dispatches his men after them. A rather protracted underwater chase ensues, and since the children must pause to breathe, it allows the humans to catch up to Loak, Tuk, and Rhea, subsequently ensnaring them in a net. As soon as Spyder witnesses his siblings being taken away, he attempts to fight to rescue them, but he's swiftly overpowered by the humans and returned inside, while the children are restrained to the railing. At that moment, Jake and the remaining villagers arrive, but they abruptly restrain themselves from attacking upon realizing that their children are being held hostage. Quaritch seizes Loak's communicator and demands that Jake approach alone if he wishes to avoid losing his children. However, as Jake starts to approach, Payakan suddenly appears and leaps over the ship, crashing down upon it and annihilating it with its fins and tail. Payakan also repels the soldiers effortlessly, as their bullets have no effect. Now, with the humans distracted from the children, Jake signals the others to assault the ship, and the harpooners turn their boats to attack Payakan with harpoons, forcing it back into the water. A fierce battle commences between the Na'vi and humans, and the Na'vi swiftly gain the upper hand due to their creatures' superior mobility in the sky and underwater concealment. Kiri utilizes her bond with marine life to dispatch the plants against the submarines, and as the main ship ignites in flames after a collision, Spyder seizes the opportunity within the vessel to activate the fans and propagate the fire throughout the ship, simultaneously demolishing the control panel. The ship eventually halts and begins to flood with water. Meanwhile, Jake engages in a one-on-one confrontation against Quaritch. Initially, they employ their armaments, yet Jake exhausts his ammunition and dispatches his Ikran to assail Quaritch's, resulting in their simultaneous plunge into the ocean. The whalers pursue Payakan, hurling a harpoon with a steel cord attached, but Payakan executes another leap and exploits the same cord to demolish the vessel. Aboard the flagship, Neytiri finally succeeds in embarking and liberating his kin. The females plunge into the aquatic expanse, while Loak harbors the intent to rescue Spyder, thereby compelling Neytiri to remain and aid his sibling. At that juncture, one of the soldiers apprehends Kiri and escorts her to the ship for binding, prompting Tuk to convince Rhea to undertake a rescue mission. Upon reaching the vessel, though, Quaritch materializes, thrusting Rhea backward into the water and subsequently capturing Tuk. The human contingent is already evacuating the foundering ship, facilitating Loak and Neytiri to stealthily circumvent and launch an unforeseen assault. Once Spyder catches sight of them, he joins the fray, reuniting with his brothers, but soon they must flee due to the arrival of additional soldiers, discharging their weapons at them. Neytiri prompts his brothers to plunge into the water while he holds off the soldiers with his personal armament, thus enabling Rhea to arrive in her ILU and offer transportation. They await Neytiri's inclusion, yet when their sibling ultimately descends into the water, it becomes evident that he has sustained a gunshot wound. Hastily, the group transports him to a small islet for Jake and Neytiri to attend to him, yet regrettably, Neytiri breathes his last in their embrace. At that moment, Quaritch contacts Jake, informing him that he has his daughters, and once more implores him to appear unaccompanied. Jake dispatches Neytiri elsewhere on her winged creature as reinforcement, then comes back to the vessel with Spyder as his mentor. Loak is meant to remain behind, but yet again he disobeys commands and returns to the vessel as well. The warriors are in position awaiting Jake at the forefront, but Spyder demonstrates to Jake how to infiltrate unnoticed, providing him the opportunity to hurl an explosive and initiate a conflagration. Pandemonium and disarray ensue following the detonation, and this is exploited by Jake and Neytiri to intervene and commence eliminating soldiers throughout the area. Neytiri is in a berserk state due to her sorrow, and it intimidates Spyder too much to approach her since he resembles the adversary. Jake succeeds in reaching Tuk and liberating her, but Kiri is absent. It turns out Quaritch spotted his approach and seized Kiri to employ as a captive. This causes Jake to relinquish his weapons and Spyder to emerge from concealment, pleading for Kiri's life, prompting Neytiri to intervene as well and seize Spyder as her own hostage. She desires to trade a child for a child, and when Quaritch initially claims he doesn't care, Neytiri injures Spyder to prove her determination, compelling Quaritch to release Kiri to save his son. Neytiri promptly leads all her children to the water to escape, but Jake opts to remain behind to confront Quaritch. Otherwise, he will return with reinforcements. While the men engage in a ferocious hand-to-hand combat, the sinking vessel descends so deeply that it begins to rotate, trapping Jake, Quaritch, Neytiri, and Tuk inside. Kiri and Spyder manage to stay outside, and when Loak arrives searching for his family, The three of them separate to cover more territory. Kiri employs her bond with the marine creatures as guides to locate Neytiri and Took, and these very same creatures serve as escorts to lead them out of the vessel. Meanwhile, Jake finally subdues Quaritch, placing him in a perilous hold and ending him, leaving the body to sink into the sea. After enduring such a lengthy underwater struggle, he runs out of oxygen, but Loak discovers him and guides him to a room with some air to breathe, reminding him of Rhea's respiratory exercises. Spyder is also searching and encounters Quaritch, who is not deceased, just unconscious. After considerable inner turmoil, Spyder decides he cannot leave him there and drags his father back to the surface. Payakan also returns to rescue Loak and Jake. This act of heroism finally prompts Jake to express his pride in Loak. While the two of them reunite with Neytiri and the girls, Spyder leaves Quaritch on an island and observes his winged creature coming to the rescue. When Quaritch awakens, he tries to persuade Spyder to escape with him, but Spyder disregards him and plunges back into the water to reunite with his family. Sometime later, the family bestows a burial for Neytiri, following the customs of Tonowari's clan. Once the ritual is properly concluded and Neytiri becomes one with nature, Jake and Neytiri merge their consciousness with the Tree of Souls, enabling them to visit Neytiri's spirit one last time. Congratulations! Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can enjoy more content like this. I appreciate you watching this.